Did you know that the average long-haul truck driver spends over 300 nights a year sleeping away from home? That's almost every single night, navigating highways and delivering goods that keep the world running. Now that you know this, let's find out what life inside the cab of a heavy-duty truck is really like. The day of a truck driver begins long before most people even think about rolling out of bed. For many, the alarm clock blares at 3 or 4 in the morning, which signals the start of another day on the road. If you're wondering why so early, the answer is simple. The highways are quieter. There's less traffic, which means drivers can cover more miles before the chaos of rush hour begins. In a job where every minute counts, getting ahead of the morning traffic can make a huge difference. Just like subscribing to the channel could also make a huge difference to us. The first task of the day is checking the route and schedule. Trucking isn't just about driving from one place to another. Every trip is carefully planned out, often down to the minute. Drivers know which stops they need to make, how long they'll be at each location, and the best routes to avoid delays. But even with all that planning, things can change. Maybe there's construction on the highway, or a storm rolling in, or a last-minute update from the dispatcher. Flexibility is key in this line of work. Once the schedule's clear, it's time for the pre-trip inspection. Now, this isn't a quick once-over like you do with your car before a road trip. This is a full-on check of the truck to make sure it's road-ready. Tires are inspected for wear and tear, brakes are tested, and lights are checked to ensure they're all working. The engine gets a thorough look too. It's not uncommon for truck drivers to get under the hood and check the oil, coolant, and belts. They're not just drivers, they're part-time mechanics, and for good reason. Missing even a small issue during this inspection could lead to big problems later. And let's be honest, nobody wants to deal with a breakdown when they're hauling a 40-ton load in the middle of nowhere. Safety is a top priority during this inspection. Drivers are trained to spot potential issues before they become real problems. Things like lug nuts, air leaks in the brake lines, or even a cracked windshield can't be ignored. Every detail matters because a fully loaded truck is not just heavy, it's also a huge responsibility. A mistake on the road can have serious consequences, so starting the day with a thorough check gives drivers peace of mind. After the truck passes inspection, it's time for the most important meal of the day, breakfast. Many drivers keep snacks, meal prep containers, or even portable cooking appliances in their cab. These are great for saving time and money, especially for those who prefer to eat healthy on the road. But let's be real, there's nothing quite like a hearty breakfast at a truck stop diner. These places are like a home away from home for drivers. They smell of freshly brewed coffee, the sound of bacon sizzling on the grill, and the friendly chatter of other truckers creating a sense of community that's hard to find anywhere else. It's not just about the food, it's about starting the day on the right note with a bit of comfort and connection. Some drivers also use this time to catch up with their fellow truckers. Conversations often revolve around road conditions, upcoming routes, or tips for dealing with tricky situations. These chats can be invaluable, especially for newer drivers who are still learning the ropes. Experienced truckers are more than happy to share their knowledge, and there's a sense of camaraderie that makes the job feel a little less isolating. By the time breakfast is done, the sun is usually starting to rise, casting a warm glow over the highway. The truck is ready, the driver is fueled up, and the day ahead is filled with possibilities. It's a routine that might seem repetitive to some, but for truck drivers, it's the foundation of their work. Every day starts with the same goal: to get on the road safely and efficiently. And for those hardworking men and women, that's just the beginning. Once the truck is rolling and the miles start adding up, you might think it's just a matter of sitting back and cruising along, but there's so much more to life on the open road. For truck drivers, every moment behind the wheel requires focus and attention. It's not like driving a regular car. These rigs are massive, often weighing up to 80,000 pounds when fully loaded. That kind of weight means everything from braking to turning, taking more effort, more planning, and a lot more skill. Drivers have to stay constantly alert. They're not just watching the road ahead, they're checking their mirrors every few seconds, monitoring traffic, and keeping an eye on their GPS. And let's not forget the weather. Rain, snow, and fog, and even high winds can turn a routine drive into a nerve-wracking experience. Imagine trying to control a 40-ton truck in slippery conditions. It's no joke. Drivers have to be prepared for anything, and that means staying calm under pressure. Another thing that makes the job challenging is the unpredictability of the road. You might have a perfectly planned route, but one accident or road closure can throw everything off. Drivers have to think on their feet, quickly finding alternate routes or adjusting their schedule to avoid delays. It's a constant game of problem solving, and while it can be stressful, it also keeps the job interesting. No 2 days are ever the same, just like no 2 videos on our channel. So hit the subscribe button, man. But perhaps the biggest challenge on the open road is loneliness. And let's be honest, spending hours, sometimes days alone in a cab can take a toll. Sure, there's the occasional chat over the CB radio or a quick call to family, but for the most part, it's just you and the road. Many drivers find ways to make the time pass, like listening to podcasts, audiobooks, or their favorite music. Some even use the time to learn new skills, like a foreign language or cooking tips, through audio lessons. It's a good way to stay productive and keep your mind sharp. That being said, solitude isn't all bad. Some drivers actually enjoy the quiet. They say it gives them time to think, reflect, and appreciate the freedom of the open road. There's something peaceful about watching the landscape change as you drive. One minute you're surrounded by rolling hills, and the next you're cruising through a bustling city. The view from the cab is constantly changing, and for many, it's one of the best parts of the job. And let's not forget the sense of accomplishment that comes along with the work. Every mile driven, every load delivered is a job well done. Drivers know they're playing a crucial role in keeping the economy moving, whether it's delivering fresh produce to a grocery store or construction materials to a work site. Their work makes a difference. It's a tough job, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Of course, there are lighter moments too. Many drivers have funny stories about their time on the road. Maybe it's a quirky diner they stopped at, an unusual sight they passed, or a random act of kindness from a stranger. These little moments add color to the long hours and make the journey more enjoyable. And while it's not always easy, there's a sense of pride knowing you're a part of a community that's as resilient as it is essential. If you think truck driving is easy, think again. This is a job that comes with a lot of challenges, some of which you might not even imagine until you're inside the cab. For starters, there are strict rules about how long drivers can be on the road. These are called hours of service regulations, and they're designed to prevent accidents caused by fatigue. Now, this might sound straightforward, but sticking to these rules can sometimes be a juggling act. Drivers have to plan their trips around these hours, making sure they rest when required, even if they're not tired. And when they do feel exhausted, they might not have the option to stop because they're on a tight delivery schedule. It's a constant balancing act between safety, legal compliance, and deadlines. Speaking of tight schedules, truck drivers often face the headache of traffic. Now, imagine driving a car through rush hour traffic. Frustrating, right? Multiply that frustration by about 10 times, and you're behind the wheel of a massive truck. These vehicles are not exactly built for quick stops or nimble turns. Getting stuck in a traffic jam can mess up a driver's entire schedule, especially if they're heading to a busy port, a warehouse with strict appointment times, or a delivery that's only allowed within a specific window. And let's not forget about construction zones and detours, which seem to pop up when you least need them. Another challenge? Weigh stations and inspections. Drivers have to pull over at weigh stations to ensure their truck's weight is within legal limits. This might sound like a simple process, but it can be time-consuming, especially if there's a long line of trucks waiting to be checked. On top of that, random roadside inspections can happen at any time. These inspections can involve checking the truck's mechanical condition, reviewing the driver's logbook, or even looking at the road to make sure everything is secure and legal. Failed inspection can mean fines, delays, or even being placed out of service until the issue is fixed. And then there's the occasional breakdown. Picture this: you're in the middle of nowhere, it's late at night, and your truck decides it's had enough. Breaking down on the road isn't just inconvenient, it can be downright dangerous. Drivers have to know how to handle these situations, whether it's calling for roadside assistance, dealing with irate customers due to delays, or even performing basic repairs themselves. It's not like you can just walk to the nearest repair shop when you're hauling a load across remote highways, and it's definitely not like subscribing to our channel, because that's way too easy. So smash that button, bud. One of the biggest challenges that doesn't get enough attention is parking. Finding a place to park a heavy-duty truck is a lot like pulling into a small parking lot. Truck stops and rest areas fill up quickly, especially in high-traffic areas or along popular routes. Drivers often have to plan their trips around where they can park safely for the night. And if they can't find a spot, they may be forced to park on the shoulder of the road or in a less than ideal location, which can be unsafe and illegal. Imagine the stress of knowing you need to rest but not being able to find a place to do it. But it's not all hard work and stress. Let's talk about why so many people choose this profession and stick with it despite the challenges. There's some pretty amazing perks to being a truck driver, and they're worth diving into. First, there's the scenery. You get to see parts of the country most people only dream about. From the towering mountains of Colorado to the endless plains of Kansas, the view from the cab can be absolutely stunning. Drivers often talk about the beautiful sunrises and sunsets they witness on the road. It's like having a front row seat to some of nature's greatest shows. And it's not all hard work and stress. Let's talk about why so many people choose this profession and stick with it despite the challenges. There's some pretty amazing perks to being a truck driver, and they're worth diving into. First, there's the scenery. You get to see parts of the country most people only dream about. From the towering mountains of Colorado to the endless plains of Kansas, the view from the cab can be absolutely stunning. Drivers often talk about the beautiful sunrises and sunsets they witness on the road. It's like having a front row seat to some of nature's greatest shows. And it's not just the natural beauty. Drivers also get to experience small towns, big cities, and everything in between. Every day brings a new backdrop, which keeps things interesting. Another reward is a sense of accomplishment. Drivers play a huge role in keeping the economy moving. Think about it, every product you buy at a store, every item you order online probably got there thanks to a truck driver. Knowing that your work has a direct impact on people's lives is something to be proud of. It's a reminder that what you're doing matters. Without truck drivers, shelves would be empty, businesses would struggle, and daily life as we know it would come to a standstill. And then there's the independence. Many drivers love the freedom that comes with the job. You're not stuck in a cubicle or micromanaged by a boss looking over your shoulder. Instead, you are out on the open road, making decisions and managing your time. For people who enjoy being their own boss, this is a huge plus. Every day is an adventure, and no 2 days are the same. Sure, there are schedules to follow, but how you get there and handle the journey is often up to you. Let's not forget about the trucking community. It's like a big family out there on the road. Drivers look out for each other, whether it's helping with directions, sharing tips about parking spots, or just offering a friendly wave as they pass by. There's a sense of camaraderie that's hard to find in other jobs. And when drivers gather at truck stops or rest areas, there's always a chance to swap stories, share a laugh, or even make a new friend. Some drivers also find that the job gives them a unique opportunity to focus on personal growth. Long hours on the road mean plenty of time to think, listen to audiobooks, or learn something new through podcasts. Whether it's picking up a new skill, staying informed about current events, or just enjoying good stories, drivers often make the most of their time behind the wheel. And of course, let's talk about the paycheck. Truck driving can be a well-paying career, especially for those willing to put in the miles and take on long-haul routes. On the average, a truck driver earns between $40,000 to as much as $200,000 annually. For many, it's a stable way to provide for their families and save for the future. Plus, some companies offer bonuses, benefits, and even opportunities to own your own truck, which can lead to even greater rewards down the line. Now, let's talk about the cab itself. But first, let's talk about our channel. You know what? Just bump the button and let's get right back into the video. For a heavy-duty truck driver, the cab is more than just a driver's seat or a workspace. It's their home away from home, and sometimes it's the only home they know for weeks at a time. If you've ever been curious about what life is like inside a truck cab, let me tell you, it's a fascinating little world of its own. Most long-haul trucks come equipped with what's called a sleeper cab. This is a space right behind the driver's seat designed for resting and sleeping during those mandatory breaks. At first glance, it might look like a tight squeeze, but it's surprisingly functional. Inside the sleeper cab, you'll usually find a bed that's about the size of a twin mattress. Sure, it's not a king-size bed in a fancy hotel, but for truckers, it's a lifesaver after hours of long driving. Beyond the bed, the sleeper cab often includes other essentials. Storage compartments line the walls, allowing drivers to pack clothes, toiletries, tools, and even food supplies. Some sleeper cabs even have small refrigerators, microwaves, and power outlets. Those modern conveniences help drivers stay comfortable on the road, even when they're hundreds of miles from home. Now, here's where things get personal. Many drivers take time to customize their cab to make it feel more like home. Might be a few family photos taped to the walls, some LED lights to brighten up the space, or even a small potted plant sitting on the dashboard. These little touches may seem minor, but they can make a huge difference in keeping a driver's morale high. After all, when you're away from loved ones for days or weeks, even a simple photo of your kids or partner can feel like a piece of home. Believe it or not, some drivers don't travel alone. That's right, pets are a big part of the trucking world. Dogs and cats are the most common companions, but you'd be surprised how many drivers bring along birds or even reptiles. Having a pet on board provides company and helps fight off loneliness. Plus, a quick walk with a dog at a rest stop is a great way for drivers to stretch their legs and take a break from sitting behind the wheel all day. Speaking of breaks, let's talk about food. Eating on the road can be a real challenge. Sure, there's plenty of truck stops and diners along the highway, but let's face it, the options aren't always the healthiest. Burgers, fries, and greasy breakfast might be delicious, but eating like that every day isn't great for anyone's health. That's why many drivers bring their own cooking equipment. Portable stoves, slow cookers, and microwaves allow them to prepare meals right inside their cab. You'd be amazed at what some of these drivers can whip up. From hearty stews to grilled chicken, they've got cooking on the road down to an art. Of course, there's not much space for a dining table, so most meals are eaten right in the driver's seat. It might not be glamorous, but it gets the job done. Plus, cooking your own food is not only healthier, but also saves money. When you're on the road for weeks at a time, those restaurant bills can really add up. Life inside the cab isn't just about eating and sleeping, though. There's downtime too, and how drivers spend it varies from person to person. Some catch up on their favorite TV shows or movies on portable screens or laptops. Others prefer reading, whether it's a book, a magazine, or even an e-reader. And then there are the hobbyists. You'd be surprised how many truckers knit, sketch, or play musical instruments during their off hours. It's all about finding ways to unwind and recharge for the next stretch of the journey. Despite the conveniences, life inside the cab isn't always easy. Space is limited, and there's no escaping the fact that you're essentially living in a box on wheels. It can get hot in the summer, cold in the winter, and noisy pretty much all the time. Yet for most truckers, it's a small price to pay for the freedom of the open road. After spending hours on the road, battling traffic, weather, and the constant hum of an engine, the end of the day is something every truck driver looks forward to. But winding down isn't as simple as parking the truck and calling it a night. There's still plenty to do before they can rest their head. First, finding a place to park the truck can be a challenge all on its own. Truck stops, rest areas, and parking lots fill up fast, especially in busy areas. Drivers often have to plan ahead to make sure they have a spot for the night. If they don't, they might find themselves circling for hours, burning fuel and time. And let's not forget that some cities and towns have strict rules about where trucks can park, which makes the search even harder. Once a truck is parked, the first order of business is usually securing the load. This means checking that everything in the trailer is still in place and hasn't shifted during the drive. Might seem unnecessary after a long day, but it is crucial. A loose load can cause problems when the truck gets moving again, and no driver wants to deal with that headache first thing in the morning. With the truck and load secure, drivers finally get a chance to relax. For some, this means stepping out of the cab and stretching their legs. A short walk around the truck stop or rest area can do wonders after sitting for hours on end. Others might head inside the truck stop for a hot shower. Yes, most major truck stops have shower facilities, and they're a lifesaver for drivers who have been on the road all day. A good shower can wash away the stress and grime of the road and leave them feeling refreshed. After cleaning up, many drivers settle into their cab for the night. This is their time to unwind. Some call their families to catch up on the day's events, while others might watch a movie or play a video game. Thanks to modern technology, staying connected on the road is easier than ever. Smartphones, tablets, and portable Wi-Fi devices let drivers stay in touch with loved ones and enjoy some entertainment, no matter where they are. Of course, not every driver is looking to relax. Some use this time to plan for the next day. They'll review their route, check for road closures or construction, and make sure their truck is ready to go. This preparation might seem like extra work, but it makes the next morning run a lot smoother. Plus, it's all part of the job. When it's finally time to sleep, drivers climb into their sleeper cab and settle in for the night. The bed might not be as comfortable as the one they have at home, but after a long day, it feels like heaven. Many drivers have their own bedtime routines, whether it's reading a book, listening to music, or just closing their eyes and letting the hum of the truck lull them to sleep. Now hit the comments and tell us what you think about a day in the life of a truck driver. And if you want more content on vehicles and the amazing people who drive them, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the